Welcome to Stress Mess, a stressless podcast where the chaos is real, the caffeine is strong, and swearing sometimes happens, and that's okay. I'm Samantha Elizabeth, health and wellness coach, chronic overthinker, and proud BFFs to stress itself. Here we're ditching perfection, embracing unfiltered real talk, and making mindset shifts that might just keep us from screaming into the void. Let's get messy. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Jamilah Robinson, entrepreneur, nonprofit leader, and co-founder of Missing Pieces Support Group. What started from her own experience with pregnancy loss has grown into a powerful community supporting women and families through grief, healing, and connection. We talk about the reality of loss that so many people don't talk about, the gaps in support that still exist today, and what it really looks like to build something meaningful out of something painful. This is a conversation about compassion, community, and making sure no one has to go through it alone. Hi, Jamilah. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Stress Mess podcast. How are you doing?
Samantha, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you here. We just saw each other yesterday.
Literally.
Yeah. And no, this is great. This is always great, to have a conversation with you, to be able to talk about, of course, we're going to be talking about Missing Pieces Support Group a lot today. But I first want you to introduce yourself, because I think that's very good, for people to get to know you and, who you are, and obviously the faces and the people behind, the organization. So go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get into it.
So I'll start with my home life because the people in my home are the most important to me. Mm-hmm. I am married to my college sweetheart, Rob. We've been together for, I always mark it by the year 2000 because that's when we met in college. So we've been together for 26 years, but we've been married for 15.
Yeah.
16 in September. And we have a son and a daughter, 12 and 6, a dog, very similar size to yours on your set right there, who's 14 because we got him a year after we got married, and a rabbit. The rabbit is our newest addition to the family. He's a little over a year old, but we adopted him late last year, per my son's request.
What kind of rabbit is it?
I am not the person to ask those questions. If you had him on this podcast, he would tell you all about it. Like, he did his research, he budgeted for it. It's due for its second round of vaccinations. He got that all set up.
Wow.
So yeah, it is truly his pet that the rest of us have just learned to love. So even stays in his room. So yeah, that's our crew at home. I'm an entrepreneur. I started a marketing consultancy firm a little over 10 years ago that has now been niche to helping nonprofits amplify their voices and missions online. So we help with email marketing, social media management, and video production, and some web development if I like you. Web development is not my strong suit. But I've got trusted partners around me for referrals for that.
That's great.
The reason that I decided to change lanes and specifically work with nonprofits is because almost 5 years ago, I founded a nonprofit with Emily, my co-founder, and 2 other women that I met in a support group because we had experienced something really traumatic in the form of pregnancy loss. And so now we reach back into that community to close the gap between resources, which is what the 4 of us found when we encountered this type of loss, and to bring awareness and community around something that is so common, but feels so isolating when it happens to you.
Yeah.
The conversation just hasn't been normalized. And so we are here to make those strides through the organization.
Yeah, well, definitely. I want to go back a little bit, just overall. I would love, obviously, to talk about missing pieces, because that is something that's very big in my heart, and of course, we're on a team now, to make it happen. But I really wanted to talk about because what the work that you do and elevate your impact, that is very crucial for a lot of nonprofits to be able to get that kind of support because. In Houston alone, I think we have like 2,500 nonprofits, and to break through that noise of all of the other nonprofits, how do you help those nonprofits? I know through that, but like how do they find you, and how do they start to work with you?
Yeah, that's a great call out. Houston is like a nonprofit hub. Not only is Houston the most philanthropic community, but there are so many charities that are birthed from this ecosystem. So, as a new nonprofit leader that owned a business, I knew how important it was to network, right? And as I'm networking with other nonprofits, I learned that we like to share everything we know, resource wise and tool wise, and people that we know wise, whenever we get to connect, right?
Mm.
But I also needed community in helping me to learn and grow. So I started building that community for newer nonprofit founders and organizations that are, looking for a leg up in scaling and amplifying their mission. And so through Elevate Your Impact, we host quarterly networking events that gives nonprofit leaders an opportunity to not only network, but have an educational experience through the themed topic of the day. And a theme is carried out through a featured presentation from an expert, extended through a panelist of other experts that are in that same space. And then we also curate a breakout session where the nonprofit leaders get to apply what they've just heard about in a meaningful or practical way and can receive feedback from the experts in the room. And, everyone that enters that experience always leaves with their hearts filled because they have met and connected with other people that go through similar struggles and similar growing pains, right? And they now feel equipped in ways that they hadn't been before. Plus, in that room happens opportunities to receive resources from business organizations that are looking to help extend a hand in providing something that a nonprofit couldn't normally afford.
Yeah.
Last quarter, we gave away a website through one of my business partner relationships and colleagues at True Digital Marketing. And so this newer nonprofit who didn't even have a website presence now has a professionally built website where they can share their mission, their stories, their impact, and stuff like that just fills your heart. And the giving in that room it's infectious. Like we normally have a quarterly $250 grant giveaway, right? And then I find other resources for giveaways. But if there are other business owners in that room, they commonly approach me and say, "Hey, I want to give away something. Hey, I enjoy this experience. Let me gift something through the giveaway." And
Mm-hmm.
so just being in the space is like an opportunity to be blessed, not only educationally, but with really good free resources.
Yeah, definitely. I had the pleasure of experiencing a session myself, and that was very impactful to hear from the nonprofits and be able to hear some of their challenges, things that they're
Mhm.
working on. But not only that, being able to help them, with some perspective of my own. with, in my own business and, how I help others, not just nonprofits, but regular businesses too, or for-profit businesses.
Yeah,
But,
you gave away free headshots at the one that you were at.
I know. And
You are
that's the
using
headshot that I use.
Yes, and you are using them, and they look great, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Quincy, that was it. I'm going to have to link him as well.
Good. He did so
Good
good.
shout out.
Amazing job.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, everybody I know is using those headshots.
Yes.
On their profiles.
I mean, because they look great. I mean, he did such a great job, not only just on the shooting, but then just making it look, like very professional. And anyway, I enjoy the headshots, that I got from him. And I will definitely continue to use those for years to come. So I'll definitely link Quincy's information in the show notes too, for anybody that wants to get a hold of him.
Resource.
Yeah, definitely.
He enjoys working with nonprofits too. So
that's wonderful. Yeah, and I think that's part of like what I see, in Houston is that businesses, for-profit businesses, look at other businesses that do similar work to them or the same exact work, and they see it as competition. So of course they want to get ahead of the market. They're looking at what they're doing and trying to out-strategize them and, all that kind of stuff. But for nonprofits and from what I'm seeing from a lot of profits in Houston that do similar work or serve similar communities, they work together. They share the resources.
And I truly enjoy as an entrepreneur being in Houston specifically for that reason, Samantha. It is usually a community over competition type of environment. And when you find that circle of people that you can either refer business, be referred business, it all comes from the relationship building and the networking, which is, I'm going to say it's pretty unique. It's pretty unique. Like if you went to Dallas, you would not be able to build a community like this is organically as it is here. For sure.
Yeah, I completely see that too. And I love, in my own business, I wish I could just work for free. I wish I could just give away all my knowledge and everything, for free. And I would definitely do that if I could. Obviously, I got to work for money. Yeah. But, that's one thing too that I see with the nonprofits is that there is definitely a community of giving amongst the nonprofits of, resources and, oh, hey, I have this person, I have, these resources. I've gone to this particular company before and they have given too. And I definitely see such a strong, not only nonprofit support, within the city, but then also even companies too, recognizing that nonprofits need their help just as much, and individuals as well that have been very giving. So we have such a great community here in Houston because of that.
I agree, friend.
Well, let's talk about missing pieces because obviously near and dear to our hearts, very much more so yours, because you've been in it for 5 years. So let's talk. I mean, this is the 5-year anniversary, and I would love to hear about all the things that I know it's 5 years is packed and a lot, but I'd love to hear about everything that you've kind of learned, through the organization of, having the organization and establishing things to what's the future of Missing Pieces?
Sure. So we'll be 5 in November in case you're watching this, next week or something.
Yeah.
But if you are watching in November, come celebrate our 5 years of being around. I do not take that milestone lightly because a lot of nonprofits dissolve way before then.
Yeah.
So, again, this started as something that we wanted, a platform that we wanted to use to give back, reach back into the community of those who encounter pregnancy loss, because it's something that it's a part of pregnancy. It's going to continue to happen. But when it happens to you, because the conversation has not been normalized, you don't know what to do next. After you hear those words, your baby no longer has a heartbeat, whatever the doctor is telling you, it becomes white noise, right? And especially if you hear that news alone, because now you have to take in what has just happened and regurgitate something to a loved one. And that's what happened to me twice.
Yeah.
And so, they tell you next steps about what to do medically. Sometimes they hold you over to do your DNC and things of that nature. But there is no thought process or information resources being provided, especially if you're in like your first or second trimesters, about mental health resources and grief support, which is something that every woman who encounters this type of loss will need, because it truly is a loss.
It is.
And so, a few years before we decided to do something, I met my fellow co-founders on the couch of a support group at Bo's Place here in Houston. And it was specifically for pregnancy loss. And back then, Samantha, you probably wouldn't know this just by knowing me now. I was a pretty private person. I only shared intimate details like that with maybe my husband, my brother. So that just explains the level of desperateness I was in, the state of desperation that I was in to get help with the grief. I experienced recurrent miscarriages within a span of like 3 to 4 months, and that second one just left me feeling broken and hopeless. And I tried the traditional route of therapy. Those first few sessions were great because my husband got to sit on a couple, and then we got to hear each other's sides of the story. But then the therapist just kept trying to push us in other areas that weren't about the grief, so we stopped going.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that, because you're like, I'm here for this particular purpose, and you want to talk about my relationship with my mother or something like
Right.
that.
Or my business. And so
Yes.
we pretty much stopped attending those sessions. I went back to work, put my head down, and moved on with my life. And then get pregnant again, and it happens again. And I find myself just laying in the bed, tears just rolling down my eyes, with just not knowing how to move past this type of grief.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, I was able to find a resource like Bo's Place. I would recommend them all day, every day. Back in 2018, I had in-person meetups, but now I believe their pregnancy loss support group is virtual. It's still a great safe space, because you're going to be with other women who have gone through this experience, and they're going to understand what you're feeling in no other way that anyone else could, because they've gone through it too. And together you get to talk through and learn new coping skills and figure out how to move forward.
Yeah.
And because you are in like a pod like that, it creates this really quick and tight bond. So after 7 weeks, a good number of us continue to meet monthly. And we did that for a good year. And, God had put it on my heart to want to do something for this community, like the secret society that we found ourselves in. And so I was like, hey, I want to do something to help the women who were going to go through this after us. And Emily and Crystal, who were in my support group, said yes. And I knew of a third woman who had encountered a stillbirth loss from my church. And she immediately said yes too, because we understand the pain that is attached to this, and we wanted to help for other people move forward too. And so, we got with the pro bono attorney who helped us file 501c3 paperwork, and we started figuring out what it meant to be a nonprofit. We got a really great resource in the beginning with an organization that helped us put together a website. And through that website, we decided, hey, we're going to give out a care package to women who go through this. And we curated the items with things we would have wanted to receive when we experienced that pregnancy loss. And so that's how the first care package and program, we didn't even know the term programming at the time, right? We just knew that this is what we wanted to do. That was our first offering. women could go to the website and request one for free. If we knew of a friend or someone that had gone through it, we had some stacked in our homes to just be ready to hand out right when it happened.
Yeah.
Because that care package serves as an opportunity to feel seen and validated in the grief of your loss. And so it also connected them back to our website, which lists a directory of other grief support resources. If you go out there today, you'll see books, podcasts, curated playlists, testimonials, local therapists here in Houston, as well as in Dallas, our newest chapter, and then holistic health support. So think acupuncturists, chiropractors, yoga, Pilates, functional doctors, functional medicine, people that look at, practitioners that look at you holistically, because the woman that has gone through this, when she goes back, she may not even want to go back to a traditional doctor. There may still be trauma there. But, we would prefer to be seen holistically versus being stereotyped with, based on symptoms. So it just makes sense to list people that will look at you as a whole person, taking in mind, body, and soul to give you next best practical steps.
Yeah.
So, after curating the first program, which has now grown into partnering with places where these losses happen to distribute the care packages. So we have a partnership with Women's Hospital, where we give them 30 boxes a month to hand off to women when this situation encounters or happens. And then we partner with birthing and wellness centers like Heart of Houston, who has a good number of our bags on hand should one of their patients experience this type of loss. Birth workers are another great partnership and resource for us, because they get it even at the most high level of getting something, right? Because these are the doulas who help, hold their patients in the client's hands through the birthing process. And so, they use our care package as an extension of continuing to support their client. And so, that program continues to grow in meaningful ways. We even create community through service projects that help us sustainably continue to offer those care packages for free. And love to see where that's going. And then as we moved along and, learning how to support the community through resources, we wanted to give back in a way that served us, which was the support group. And so we were able to connect with a trauma therapist who helped us curate some curriculum for a grief work cohort. And we launched that about 2 years ago, and that program has just taken off under the leadership and direction of our new loss support program manager, Rebecca Tapik, who has worked really hard to create community amongst her colleagues to help us provide a meaningful way to help women who encounter the loss. So we still have the 7-week grief cohort. It's available virtually, so you don't have to be in Houston or Dallas to participate. And then we have extensions of that support group where there's an opportunity to meet in person once you've gone through the grief work, if you are in Houston and Dallas, where we do either a self-care activity or service project, just because we know that there is healing and movement and continued community around something that's common. And then we also have a peer group for women who have experienced pregnancy loss and are now pregnant again. As you and I know, that is a really, really scary time.
Yes.
So that group has been a really solid community for those in that situation for a good year, almost year and a half now. And we have seen some rainbow babies come from that group. And we found another way to stay connected with our communities of moms who have gone through that, and have launched a parenting after loss series that we call Beyond the Rainbow Peer Group. And so, it's another way to stay connected with a community of people that have gone through this and are moving forward in their lives, acknowledging the grief that they've went through, right? But learning how to be a good parent to their new child. So
definitely, yeah.
So yeah, that is us in a nutshell. There has been a lot of growing pains into this learning thing, and as our newest board member, you can speak to some of the challenges of what we're doing, like board governance. That is something that we are having to learn to properly structure. And
yes, definitely.
We take advantage of educational opportunities to do that. And the better you can get, right? So it's all a process. Even with bringing in volunteers to help us amplify our mission, it's a continuous thing. Got some great long-term volunteers that have been around simply because they want to see us win, and they use their business acumen and knowledge about things to help push this thing forward, so that I can have conversations like this instead of being in front of a computer trying to do all of the things. Because that is the quickest way to fail in this nonprofit lane, is trying to do it by yourself. The best way to grow is in community, not only with resources, but bringing community around your mission work. So
absolutely,
that has been my greatest and most meaningful learning experience. So shout out to all the MPSG volunteers that are here to help us push the needle forward in such a meaningful way. We could not do this work without these volunteers being around.
You're absolutely right. I got to say, we have a wonderful group of volunteers, and it has just been such a great thing to come into the organization and be able to see all of the great work that people are doing, how tied to the mission they are, whether they've experienced, pregnancy loss themselves, or they have somebody that has experienced it. And I think we all know somebody. If it's not us, it's somebody else, that's experienced it. And it really is such a lonely and isolating time. It can put strain, on relationships.
It does.
It's
people
very
divorce from this situation.
What's that?
People divorce from this situation.
Yes. I think I know that. But yeah.
You know that intimately. But this is something that can break up. It can break up homes.
It can. Yeah. It's just because it's such a very confusing time, because I think a lot of people, as humans, we want to assign blame, to something.
Yes.
And so, but it's not always something that's blameful. It's not something that you can pinpoint on somebody, because and sometimes it just happens, and there's nothing that you could have done to prevent it. And I think that's the very confusing thing, because sometimes women, that have gone through a loss do want to put the blame on themselves and think about, like, what should I have not done, during that time? Or you look at it. I'm a big fan of Sex and the City. And, Charlotte, on the, she went through, a pregnancy loss, and she was thinking, like, when she got pregnant again, she was just like, well, can I run? Can I, and I know people, that have experienced a loss think about what what happened last time and how can I prevent that? And it's
Right.
very confusing when it happens because you think I did everything right. Like
Yeah.
I didn't push myself so hard. I got the proper amount of sleep and it happens. And I know when I went through mine, I went to the emergency room because I thought I didn't know what was happening, at the time. I had a suspicion, what was happening. And of course, I knew I was pregnant. I had taken, the test and all that kind of stuff. And,
Mhm.
when it was starting to happen, I went to the emergency room because I was thinking, is there anything that they can do? Is there some kind of medicine or something like that they can do to help me keep this pregnancy? And,
Mhm.
going in, they let it happen. And the entire time I was very confused, kind of a little angry, thinking like, do something, and because there was nothing I could do but just sit there and, it was happening. And I remember the doctor telling me, and I know this is not true now, but, I remember the doctor telling me, it happens to 50% of pregnancies, very kind of crass about it, like very, just like matter of fact, don't worry about it, move on with your life. And I really wish there was something like Missing Pieces. Now, this is 13 years ago. So it was way before Missing Pieces support group, but I
Yeah.
wish there had been something.
Mine happened in 2018, and there was still the same level of lack of compassionate care.
Yeah.
Like I understand that healthcare workers get, desensitized by seeing this type of loss happen over and over, right? But
Yeah.
that should not change how you treat the person in front of you who
Right.
has never experienced this. Now, there are some strides that are being taken to educate practitioners about compassionate care, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I just was a
Yes.
part of the Institute of Reproductive Grief Care Symposium, and in that space, therapists, um, hospital workers, um, community leaders, they all come together to talk about moving the needle forward in meaningful and practical ways, for women that encounter this loss, so that they aren't left feeling isolated and alone like we were. And
Yeah.
even just 7 short years ago, it was still a space of, I'm not being seen as a person,
Yeah.
because you see this all the time, and you are not showing any compassionate care.
Yes, definitely. And, we see that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it is the desensitization. Sorry. Now all of a sudden can't say the word, but anyway.
Yes, they are desensitized.
Yes, and I think that and I worked in elderly care, too, and I saw during my time in elderly care a lot of deaths, during that time, and
Yeah.
it became a little bit commonplace to me.
Mhm.
That I do remember talking to somebody that was actually losing their grandmother, and I was like, okay, well, I was trying to go through the procedure with them of like, what happens, and just realizing that I was being insensitive,
Mhm.
to their loss. And I think that's one thing too, is that it does become commonplace, for
Okay.
a lot of doctors or practitioners,
Mhm.
that they're just kind of like, okay, this is routine. Like you don't have to worry about it, all that kind of stuff. And it happens, with several different procedures that are routine, that
Yeah.
are very commonplace. But thinking about the individual that
Right.
either has not been through that. I'm thinking about like, okay, I'm just gonna bring up like colonoscopy, for instance, or something like
Yeah.
that. Very routine, very like, for the doctor, but it could be very scary for somebody that has maybe never
Absolutely.
been put under before,
Mhm.
or, doesn't know what's happening. And so it is that compassion, for that individual, given their circumstance. It's even like, walking through, like I give blood very often. And, that's one thing I tell them every single time. This may be my third time this year coming to giving blood. Walk me through it. Just pretend like I've never done this before. It just
Yes.
makes me feel better. I don't know why.
Yes. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
it is so important to,
yeah.
for that practitioner be mindful that,
Yes.
this is somebody else's first experience, where it's like you're 500. This is new to them, and this, in most cases, it's it's something that a woman wanted, or maybe haven't even had time to even figure out if they wanted pregnancy or not, right?
Yes.
So it's just a really sensitive time for the person that is in front of you.
Yes.
And there are strides being made. I can tell that from the research and the product tools and information gathering that they're doing through healthcare platforms. And I'm thankful to see that in action. But it's a long time coming. Samantha, very long time coming.
Oh, yes, definitely. I completely understand that. I do want to make the recognition of like that people are in different, situations when they do experience a loss. You're right. There might be where they haven't even made the decision yet, or it could be several times that it's happened to them, or the first time, or even that they have children
for a medical decision, the medical purposes. Like there is no choice other than to terminate the pregnancy.
Yes. That's tough. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we could talk about the involuntary and the voluntary too.
Exactly. And we meet the needs of both communities through our support group programs.
Yeah. I mean, because that's pain for your body, regardless. But then it's also that kind of emotional aftermath, of the pain, because it echoes throughout your body, whether it's there or not.
Yes.
And it's the same thing for that type of loss, is
absolutely
that echoing, for a lot of people.
Agreed.
Wow. Well, this is such a powerful conversation. And I really appreciate you being on the podcast. I'm so excited because we have so many wonderful things coming up to be able to help support people. So I do, and you got to check me here to make sure I get all of this right. But if everybody goes to missingpiecessupportgroup.org, you can check out all of the things that we have coming up. There's one big thing that's coming up that I want everybody to know about, and that is the Maternal Mental Health Symposium. And that's on May 21st, 2026. So if you're watching this in 2027 or beyond, of course, that already happened.
It in the upcoming year.
I know, exactly. It's annual. So, please check out the website to make sure. When's the next one coming up? And of course, we'd have other things coming up. But the Maternal Mental Health Symposium is really important because it really does, it provides everybody a panelist of people that are professional.
The panelists that you're talking about with our fireside chat, these women are healthcare professionals that see women in all stages of motherhood. We've got a pelvic floor therapist. We've got a functional medicine person on the team, and they're just going to speak to body changes, the mental health toll that it comes with that, and the patient safety. I think this conversation is going to help all of the mothers in the room feel normal, and that they are, like with pregnancy loss, they are not alone in their feelings of I'm in perimenopause and all of these hormones are raging and these bodily changes, the postpartum that comes after childbirth, and then actually being in menopause as a mother, it still has to care for family and kids. Like, there are challenges at every stage that the conversation needs to be normalized around, and people need to know what resources are available to help them through those challenges. And that's what we dedicated this time in this space for, to get resources for moms, not only just the ones that have encountered pregnancy loss, because there's a lot of trauma and next steps you have to figure out there, but being a mom and who is going through life changes, it is tough.
Yes, definitely.
We're here to support that group of women.
Yes, definitely. So I got to say, if you're a woman and you're in Houston and you would like to learn more, definitely go to missingpiecessupportgroup.org and be able to look up the Maternal Mental Health Symposium. It's on May 21st. It is going to be fantastic. I'm so excited about it. I'm also excited about everything else that we have coming up. But
and that, Samantha, we have a silent auction that launches on the 12th. I believe that's today. In honor of Stress Awareness Month. and it culminates through the 25th, which is Infertility Awareness Week. But we have curated a list of items that we are auctioning that speak to self-care and self-care experiences, to pamper, not only lost moms, but moms and people in general who just need to take some time and give themselves the self-care that they need. As Americans, we overwork ourselves. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, there's so much temptation to just not stop working. Like a lot of people work 7 days a week.
I know,
more than 12 hours a day. But
I think
there is power in stopping and being still and taking some time for yourself. And I had to learn that the hard way. But being intentional about giving yourself the self-care that you need, whether that's, a day off or, sitting by yourself and reading or just being still.
Yeah, definitely.
You need to do that.
Yeah, I know. It's part of our cultural norms, within the U.S. is to overwork yourself and to feel loyal, to your workplace and everything.
But to feel bad when you're taking a break. And
exactly.
That's not how it was designed.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something very, very important. And I love that the silent auction is really focusing on self-care. So as of the go live of this podcast, the silent auction will be going on. So I'll make sure in the show notes that I put that on there so you guys can check it out. There's places, on there that are Houston specific too, but I do believe there's some items that somebody can purchase that necessarily won't be Houston specific, if I recall.
Oh, absolutely. We even have an experience, a self-care retreat that's actually in California.
That's right. I saw that.
4 or 5 members. So you get with your good girlfriends and go into bid on that one to get away and have a retreat that you all can rest and relax and enjoy each other's company. So there's all kinds of items out there. There's even some buy now items that will be launched on the 12th. So go out there now. If you said it'll be launched after the launch, or this will be released after the launch. But look for those buy now opportunities as well as the meaningful experiences that will bring you some self-care and some joy.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, I am so excited. I'm excited about the future of Missing Pieces. And
we're excited that you're here. You have yet to introduce yourself as a board member to your stress mess community. And, we appreciate the good couple of months that you've put in. We know that you are in this for the long haul of things. The impact that we're trying to create here. To help women and families that encounter this. And you're very like-minded about not wanting anyone to feel alone when this happens to them. So thank you for being a part of the crew.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be a part of it, because this has just been, these last couple of months have been a wonderful whirlwind for me. And I'm just so excited that I get to work with such wonderful people that also support wonderful people too. So thank you so much. And thanks so much for being on the podcast too. This is absolutely, fantastic.
I'll join anytime you want me to.
All right. Awesome. Well, maybe we'll just make this a regular segment. What's going on with Missing Pieces?
I'm not a friend. Not a
Hey, actually, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. All right. Great ideas.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity.